Yo, what's poppin', guys? Szyl here, and today I'm bringing you the Operation Riptide patch tier list. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road. So first we have the Abandon Hope patch, and keep in mind these patches are basically put on like the arms and like sometimes like the backs of like operators. Basically, like imagine as if they were stickers for the CSGO operators. Um, and this one I could definitely see working. It's not a bad patch by any kind of means, and it kind of would tell a story or whatever operator you put it on. I don't think it's a bad patch at all. I'd actually say this is a pretty solid one. I'm gonna put it up in the A tier. I think it has a kind of very unique design. The whole abandon hope thing is kind of like kind of putting into your head that they're kind of like a more threatening kind of operator, which means you're like more powerhouse player, I guess. I don't know, but it's a pretty good one. Then we have Anchors Aweigh, which isn't as like generic as this one. Abandon Hope, you could probably put this on pretty much any operator and it would fit. Anchors Aweigh, on the other hand, I think is made specifically for this operation. Because if you guys didn't know, in this operation, there's like a ton of like scuba divers and a lot of like water-based operators. But in general, there is not too many of them, which makes this a very specific patch. And even then, most of the water-based operators have kind of like a dark blue outfit or something. So having this white kind of patch sticking out on the side definitely takes away from that bit. If they had made this like a dark blue background or something, it might have worked better, but then the change would have to change color or whatever. I don't know how they would have made it better, but this one's not only very specific, only works for the handful of operators, it's also not really all that good. So I'm gonna go put this down in the C tier. Definitely not like the worst thing out of these in this operation. It's not like incredibly horrible. It still stands out a bit, so you'll actually be drawing your eyes toward it to kind of look at it, but it also just doesn't go well with like pretty much any operator that I can think of. Next up, we have Cruising Ray, which yet again is one of those kind of water-based ones that only works with the new set of operators and probably will never work with any for the foreseeable future. But this one uses a blue color scheme for the most part, which helps it go a lot better with the operators. The downside here being this isn't really that good of a patch. This is something you expect to see on like a sticker, but as a patch, I don't really know if this works. Because a patch is kind of supposed to tell a story about that operator, kind of add characteristics to your operator. I don't know what this is supposed to tell you about anyone's kind of operator that they're using. And for that reason, I think it's just bad. It has the same problems as the anchor, only really being applicable to the water-based operators. But unlike the anchor, it doesn't even tell like a cool story or have like a very nice design for a patch. It just doesn't work very well. Next up, we have the Mad Sushi. It says no quarter, and it's a sushi with two different shadow daggers just coming down to stab you, which kind of, shows a bit of aggression. Pretty nice thing to see in just anything in CS. Just having that level of aggression is nice. And this color scheme is absolutely beautiful. This basically works with almost every CT operator, since most of them are kind of SWAT-based operators that are on like SWAT suits and stuff. This color scheme right here, this blue background, works very well with that. And the rest of this isn't super bright, other than I guess the head of the sushi. And I mean, just having like an angry sushi guy coming down with some knives. I don't know what no core is supposed to mean. I'm probably really dumb for that, but I don't. Uh, it's not a bad patch by any means. It works with a lot of different operators, and I don't think it would look bad, especially with the color schemes got going on. I don't think it tells as much of a story as Abandoned Hope, so I'm gonna put it a tier below that in B tier. I think that's a pretty good place for it. It's a pretty solid patch, nothing crazy, but definitely not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Next up, we have Giant Squid, which I don't remember there being any kind of pink on any operator, so that's already kind of a big downside. And also, this is just a bad design. You can barely recognize it as a squid. It takes like a while for you to recognize it as a squid. These hands almost look like flamingos rather than kind of tentacles. and the lime green with pink does not go very well, at least right now, with any operator in the entire game that I know of. And this would stick out like a sore thumb and just not look good because it's not a good design. I'm going to have to add the F tier specifically for this skin. I doubt we'll have another patch this bad. So that's an easy F tier. Uh, Pretty self-explanatory. Next up we have El Pirata, which this is technically like a water-based skin, but Piranha shows a lot of kind of aggressiveness, and this works very well with those skins, and that red background kind of embodies that whole like red is also the same color as blood, so it kind of embodies the fact that like this is like a dangerous guy, and the whole design of this whole patch just seems like, yeah, this is like a dangerous guy. You shouldn't be messing with him. And I think with this color scheme, as weird as it technically is, I think these kind of colors will work with a lot of operators. I can't really say why because I don't know myself, but I do think this could work very well with a lot of different operators, and it's a very, very well designed patch. So I'm gonna have to put it right under the Abandon Hope in the A tier. I think it's a pretty solid one. And then next up we have Death from Below. This is one of those water-based ones that is specifically water-based. Big plus here, though, it has a very heavy emphasis on the dark blue kind of color scheme, and that can work both with the SWAT operators and all the new kind of SWAT operators that are like in wetsuits and stuff. This color scheme fits very well with those, and it doesn't look horrible. I mean, you can see she's definitely coming in for like try to stab someone with that trident. And it's not a bad design. It's not really too great either. It's definitely kind of mediocre, but it's not bad, right? You can't really go wrong with this one. I feel like you could just slap this on somewhere in your operator and not really question it too much. So for that reason, I'm gonna have to say it's probably a bit better than the anchor because of the color scheme working better, but not as good as the no quarter one, which I think works a lot better. All right. Next up, we have Deadman, which is very simple. Dead men tell no tales. Very famous pirate quote. And black and white, just mainly the most of this patch is black, and black works with basically every color. That's one of its main defining characteristics. And just a simple like pirate icon with a very famous pirate quote is a very, very good patch. You could put this on anything, and it'll kind of, the pirate flag is kind of synonymous with these are dangerous people. You should keep your distance. So putting that on a patch, especially with a black background that makes it work with pretty much any colors, is a really, really good idea. I think this is definitely one of the highlights in terms of patches. So I'm just going to put this as an easy S tier. I really don't think that needs any kind of explanation. Next up, we have Mealtime, which is a shark with two M4s on either side of him, which is and it says it's mealtime around the outside. Has like a blackish gray background, which is very nice, and most of the color scheme is gold, which is also very nice. I think gold works with a lot of things as well, not as much as black, but still a good amount. And the general design of this is very, very like cool looking. It still gives that sign of danger with a shark being dangerous, and he also has two guns, kind of like how in a lot of the Austin Powers movies they're like fucking laser sharks. Well, this has it's a it's a shark with guns, very very dangerous thing, and the color scheme helps work with a lot of things, and especially these new operators. It goes very well with those. I'm debating putting this in S tier. It's either high A tier, low S tier. I'm gonna put in the A tier, honestly. I don't think it's as good as just this pirate patch. Very simple, to the point, but also very good against going across. This one's just a very very well made design with a very solid color scheme. Next up, we have Sunset Wave, which is kind of what you'd expect from like a real life patch. And it looks alright. It does nothing special. I don't really see anything too crazy about this. It probably works with pretty much any operator with its color scheme, but it's kind of just like Pablo Picasso art almost, and it doesn't really accomplish too much. So I think it's an easy C tier, probably right under Death from Below. Yeah. Next up, we have the Elder God, which has a diffuse kit on his head for some reason. And, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about this one. Having that diffuse kit nice and centered is pretty good for any kind of thing, but it kind of takes away from the whole Elder God thing, and even then, the Elder God itself was made pretty small, I guess, to fit on the patch, but it takes away from a lot of that kind of horror that is associated with the Elder God, um, and this just ends up looking like a generic patch. So, for that reason, I'm gonna still put it above the C tier. I think it's still a bit nicer, but it's not as good as No Quarter, in my opinion. So I'm gonna put it right there in the B tier. Next up, we have Bayonet Frog, and just having a large focus on both a skeleton. It's a skeleton of a frog, but it's still a skeleton, and then a skeleton with a knife. Very dangerous, very simple, very straight to the point. And like I said earlier, black and white are a very good color scheme that kind of work with everything. This is a very simple one, but it's very, very efficient at being a good patch. So I'm going to put that as an easy S tier, right below the pirate quote one. I think the pirate one's just really cool. I don't know why, really like this one. And finally, we have Aquatic Offensive, which is the CSGO logo, but instead of the CSGO like operator guy, it's a shark from the looks of things, or maybe a fish. I can't really tell. I think that's supposed to be a shark though, with a trident instead of like an operator with a gun, which is kind of a kind of a funny one. Um, but I don't really know if it makes it good. I mean, I guess it's good for those people who like the CS logo, right? That's a decent thing to have. I think it's a bit better um, than the Elder God one, but I still think it doesn't hold a candle to No Quarter with its very well done color scheme and generally solid design. I think the CS:GO color scheme, as cool as it is, doesn't go too well with a lot of operators, and being a square, especially one that isn't black, definitely detracts from it a lot, as most of the other patches are like circles or generally kind of curved, and being square doesn't look as nice in my opinion. Doesn't go as well with like outfits and stuff. And yeah, that's it for the patches in this game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one.